We're here in Santa Cruz, California, with one of my favorite authors, Rolf Gates, who wrote Meditations from the Mat, the first book that I ever put on my blog. Thanks so much for joining us, and thank you for having us at your home.
Oh, thank you. Welcome to Santa Cruz.
I lived with your book for a couple of years and first went through it page by page and then went backwards and took snippets of it here and there. What was your inspiration for writing the book?
Well, actually, I came into my spiritual practice through recovery from addiction.
I would love for you to talk about that.
And the first thing we got in rehab was these 24-hour books. And it really helped to have something to read that was small. My attention span was kind of small. And that was huge. And everyone would, read and talk about, what they, July 14th and stuff. And everyone, so that was a big part of developing a spiritual practice in that world. And it surprised me later when I got into yoga. Two things surprised me. One is that there was no simple vehicle for people to learn about the Yoga Sutras. That they had to kind of plow through an academic tome if they wanted to learn. So very few people were doing that. And then everyone else just didn't know what yoga really was. They would take classes in gyms or something like that, and
Sure.
they liked yoga, but they didn't really know what yoga was. And I felt there needed to be a way for people. I felt that if people understood what yoga was, they could make good choices for themselves about how to develop their practice. And so there was the motivation to provide a daily reflection book for yoga people that helped yoga people the way they'd helped me when I was new to recovery. There was a motivation to kind of spread the word of what yoga actually was for people who didn't have a lot of time. Yoga people tend to not have a lot of time at first. It's funny how they have more and more time as things go on.
Very cool. You're right.
And then the last thing was just I've always been able to be consistent in whatever I do, and I found a lot of people have difficulty with it. So the cover of the book was meant to be an invitation to remember how cool their mat was. And so I wanted people to, I've always had something in my life that gets me excited about what I'm doing. If it's, whatever training I'm in, I've just moving to Santa Cruz, I picked up surfing, and I have surf movies on my phone that I watch on the plane and stuff.
Awesome.
And I try to get into the spirit of things. It's I'm watching people ride waves this big, my waves are like that big. but I'm into whatever I get into. I like to get into the joy of it. And the cover of the book was meant to, you could just you don't even read the book, you can just look at the cover of the book, and the book would remind you, wow, this is a cool thing that I'm a part of, and get you kind of motivated that way. Finally, I think there's so many great books. There's so many great teachers in my life. A couple of the people who were influencing me when I wrote my book were Marianne Williamson, Jack Kornfield. Yeah, just amazing people. Deepak Chopra is a huge influence. Has been an influence in my life forever. I'm so grateful for him. And so there's people like that. And I felt that a lot of folks, myself included, couldn't read a whole chapter. Right? I'd get about halfway through a chapter and then I'd put the book down. And so I wanted a book that people could read like a paragraph in.
Very cool.
And especially with a spiritual book, a book about spiritual specifically means to me a book where what you're reading you're going to apply today in your life.
Nice.
Something like that, a paragraph is all you need. You need to be reminded of generosity, or be reminded of humility, or reminded of that the path forward seems to go back. You just need that little reminder. Oh, okay, and then you go out and you apply that. And there's also this funny law of attraction thing where you end up opening the book to what you need that day.
I love that. Very cool.
Yeah, and that you can trust. That will definitely happen in any book you open.
Right.
And I want my book to be able to provide that. Finally, the quotes. I like quotes, and I felt that people thought that yoga was many different things other than what they do every day. And I felt that having quotes from different from music and from poetry and from everyday life would remind them that yoga is actually just kind of the common sense that we're all trying to live into.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. How can people get more information about you?
Just go to rolfgates.com. And also, one thing I want to plug is that, as I travel, because I was open about my recovery in my book, from addiction, I've been, over the years as I travel, more and more folks have come to me and said, hey, they're in recovery and they're finding yoga as a huge complement to the work they're doing. And so eventually me and a bunch of other teachers decide we're going to actually have a conference. So this year,
great news.
yeah, this year from November 7th to November 12th at Big Sur in Esalen.
Right.
We have the whole place. Vinnie Marino's coming from LA. Nikki Myers is coming.
Nice.
Kevin Griffith's coming. Carrie Coppola is coming. So we got a group of teachers. So there'll be a Dharma teacher, a meditation teacher, and some asana teachers. And we're going to have kirtan as well with Girish will be there for kirtan. Yeah, all that on the Pacific,
Oh, it's so exciting.
And so it's just dedicated. It's dedicated to people who are, we think that the teachers think that the recovery movement can powerfully and positively impact yoga in the U.S. and we want to help facilitate that.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind that you're going to, because you are a to-do kind of guy, and I'm so honored that you've been such a great part of my life. Thank you so much. For people who are watching, make sure and check on the link, onewithlife.com. There will be more Rolf on the blog. Thanks so much.
Welcome.
Namaste.
Namaste.